Okay, so in this video, we're going to be taking a look at multiplying integers by decimals. So whenever we've got questions which involves multiplying by a decimal, there's a nice method we can use to make these questions a lot easier. So for this first example, we've got calculate the following. We've then got 12 multiplied by 1.4. So when we've got a question like this where we're multiplying by a decimal, all we're going to do first is count how many decimal places there are in each number. So because today we're looking at multiplying integers by decimals, we know we're going to be starting with a whole number, so that first number isn't going to have any decimal places. So for this 12, we have 0 decimal places. We then take a look at the next number, which is 1.4, and that number has 1 decimal place, meaning how many digits are there after the decimal place. So once we've counted how many decimal places there are in each number, we're then going to add these numbers together. So if we do 0, add the 1, that's going to give us 1. And that 1 is how many decimal places there are going to be in our final answer. So we know our answer is going to have 1 decimal place. So now what we can do is actually remove the decimals from our question. So instead of doing 12 times 1.4, we're going to do 12 multiplied by 14. And then we can do our simple column multiplication to work this out. So to begin with, we're going to do 4 multiplied by 2, that's going to give us 8. We then do 4 multiplied by 1, which gives us 4. Okay, now because we're moving over to the 1 in the tens column in the 14, we now need a placeholder. So I'm going to put a 0 in the units column. I'm then going to do 1 multiplied by 2, which is 2. And we've then got 1 multiplied by 1, which is simply 1. So now we've got these two numbers, 48 and 120. We now need to add these together. So using simple column addition, we have 8 add 0, which is 8. 4 add 2, which gives us 6. And 1 all on its own, which gives us 1. So I'm now going to take this 168, and this isn't our final answer. These are just the digits that are going to be in our final answer. So we know we're going to be using the digits 168, and we know from the working out we did earlier that our final answer is going to have 1 decimal place. So I'm simply going to put that between the digits now. So to 1 decimal place, we would have 16.8. And that would be our final answer to 12 multiplied by 1.4. So for this next example, we've got 22 multiplied by 3.24. So again, we're going to use exactly the same method here. The first thing we're going to do is count how many decimal places there are in each number. Again, because in this video we're focusing on multiplying integers by decimals, we know this first number, being a whole number, is going to have 0 decimal places. And then for this 3.24, we have 2 decimal places. So I'm now just going to add these two numbers together. So 0 add 2 is going to give me 2. So we know that our final answer will be to 2 decimal places. So now we're going to do the calculation, but without the decimal point. So we're going to do 22 multiplied by 324. So I'm going to put the 324 on top, and then I'm going to multiply that through by the 22. So to start with, we've got 2 times 4, which is 8. We've then got 2 times 2, which is 4. And then we've got 2 times the 3, which gives us 6. And then we're moving over to the second 2. So because we're moving over to the tens column, we need a placeholder in the units. We're then doing 2 multiplied by 4, which gives us 8. We then do 2 times 2, which gives us 4. And then we've got 2 multiplied by the 3, which is going to give us 6. So now with these two numbers, we're just going to add them together. So 8 add the 0 is going to give us 8. We've then got 4 add 8, which is 12. So I'm going to put a 2 here, carry over the 1. We've then got 6 add 4, which is 10. Add on that 1 we've carried over is 11. So a 1 here, carry over the other 1. And then for this last bit, we've got 6. Add the 1 we've just carried over. That's going to give us 7. So we know the digits in our answer are going to be 7, 1, 2, 8. But then we need to remember where our decimal point goes. Well, we figured out earlier on that our answer will actually have 2 decimal places. So if I put that decimal place between these digits, I would have 71.28. And that would be my final answer to this question. So hopefully those couple of examples made sense. We're now going to take a look at some more practice questions. Feel free to pause the video here and have a go at these. and we'll go through the solutions in just a few moments. Okay, for this first question, we've got 16 multiplied by 1.8. So again, we're going to count the decimal places in each number. So we've got 0 decimal places in this 16, and we've got 1 decimal place in this 1.8. We then add those two numbers together. 0 add 1 is going to give us 1. So we know there's going to be 1 decimal place in our answer. So now we're going to do the calculation without the decimal point. So we're just going to do 16 multiplied by 18. So to begin with, we would do 8 multiplied by 6, which is 48. So we're going to have an 8 here. We're then going to carry over a small 4 into this column. We're then going to do 8 multiplied by 1, which is 8. We then need to add on that 4 that we just carried over. So 8 add 4 would give us 12. So we'd have a 2 in this column, and we're going to carry over a 1 to the next column. We're now moving over to the 1 in our tens column. So we need a placeholder in our units column. So we're then going to do 1 multiplied by 6, which is 6. And then 1 multiplied by 1, which is 1. So we're then going to take these two numbers and add them together. So we have 8 add 0, which is 8. 2 add 6, which is 8. And then 1 add 1, which gives us 2. So the digits in our answer are going to be 2, 8, 8. And we know from earlier there's going to be 1 decimal place in our final answer. So our final answer here would be 28.8. Okay, for this next question, we've got 24 multiplied by 2.6. So again, we're going to count the decimal places in each number. We don't have any decimal places in this 24. And there's 1 decimal place in this 2.6. So then I'm going to add these two numbers together, and that's going to give me 1. So I know there's going to be 1 decimal place in my final answer. We then treat this like a normal calculation without the decimal points. So we're going to do 24 multiplied by 26. So to begin with, we've got 6 times 4, which is 24. So we have a 4 in this column. We're going to carry over a little 2. We're then going to do 6 times 2, which is 12. Add on the 2 we've just carried over, that's 14. So a 4 here and a 1 over here. We're then moving over to that 2 in the tens column. So we need a placeholder in our units column. We then do 2 times 4, which is 8. And then we do 2 times 2, which is 4. So once we've done that, we're then going to add these two numbers together. So we have 4 add 0, which is 4. We have 4 add 8, which is 12. So a 2 here, carry over the 1. We then have 1 add 4, which is 5. Add the 1 we've just carried over, that gives us 6. So we know the digits in our answer are going to be 6, 2, and 4. But then looking back to what we figured out earlier, we know there's going to be 1 decimal place in our final answer. So the answer to 24 multiplied by 2.6 would actually be 62.4. Okay, moving on, we've now got 73 multiplied by 4.23. So again, the first thing we want to do is count those decimal places in each number. So we have 0 decimal places in the 73. But this time we have 2 decimal places in this 4.23. So then adding these numbers together, we know that there's going to be 2 decimal places in our final answer. So what we're going to do now is multiply these numbers together, but without the decimal point. So we're going to do 73 multiplied by 423, but we can do it the other way around. We're going to do 423 multiplied by 73. So to begin with, we'd have 3 multiplied by 3, which is 9. We've then got 3 times 2, which is 6. We've then got 3 times 4, which is 12. So a 2 here and a 1 over here. We're then moving over to that 7 in the tens column. So we need a placeholder in the units column. We've then got 7 times 3, which is 21. So we're going to put a 1 here and carry over a little 2. We've then got 7 times 2, which is 14. Add on the 2 we've just carried over gives us 16. So we'll have a 6 in this column and then carry over a little 1. And then finally we've got 7 times 4, which is 28. Add on the 1 we've just carried, that would give us 29. So So we've got a 9 in this column, and then we'd have a 2 over here. So what we're going to do now is add these numbers together. So to begin with, we've got 9 add 0, which is 9. We've then got 6 add 1, which is 7. We've then got 2 add 6, which is 8. We've then got 1 add 9, which is 10. So I'd have a 0 in this column, and I'd carry over a 1 to the next column. And then we'd have 2 add the 1 we've just carried over. That's going to give us 3. So we know the digits in our final answer are going to be 3, 0, 8, 7, 9. But then going back to what we looked at earlier, we know there's going to be 2 decimal places in our final answer. So our final answer to 73 multiplied by 4.23 would actually be 308.79. So we have our answer, which is to 2 decimal places. And for this very last example, we've got 121 multiplied by 3.81. So again, just like the other examples, we're going to count the decimal places first. So we have no decimal places in this 121. And we have 2 decimal places in this 3.81. So again, adding these together, 0 add 2 will obviously give us 2. We know our final answer is going to have 2 decimal places. So now we're going to forget about the decimal points. So we're just going to do 121 multiplied by 381. So I'm actually going to do it the other way around. I'm going to do 381 multiplied by 121. So to begin with, we've got 1 times 1, which is 1. We've then got 1 multiplied by 8, which is 8. And then we've got 1 multiplied by 3, which is 3. We're then going to move over to the 2 in the tens column. So in the units column, we need a placeholder. So we have a 0 there. We're then going to do 2 multiplied by 1, which is 2. We've then got 2 multiplied by 8, which is 16. So I'm going to put a 6 in this column and carry over a little 1 into the next column. And then we're going to do 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. Adding on the 1 we've just carried over, that's going to give us a 7 in this column. Okay, we're now moving over to the 1 in the hundreds column. So I need a placeholder in my units column and another one in my tens column. We've then got 1 times 1, which gives us 1. 1 times 8, which gives us 8. And then finally 1 multiplied by 3, which is going to give me 3. So we've done all the multiplication we need to. We now simply need to add these numbers together. So we've got 1 add 0 add 0. That's going to give us 1. We've then got 8 add 2, which is 10. Add on the 0. We've still got 10. So I'm going to put a 0 in this column and carry over a 1 to my next column. We've then got 3 add 6, which is 9. Add the 1 is 10. Add on the 1 we've just carried over, that's going to give us 11. So we have a 1 in this column, carry over a 1 to the next column. We've then got 7, add 8, which is 15. Add on the 1 we've just carried over gives us 16. So a 6 in this column, and then a 1 carried over to the next column. And then finally, we've got 3. Add on the 1 we've just carried over, which gives us 4. So now we've finished, we have the digits for our final answer, which are 4, 6, 1, 0, 1. So those are the digits. Going back to what we did earlier, we know there's going to be 2 decimal places in our final answer. So that means our decimal place would go here. So the final answer to 121 multiplied by 3.81 would be 461.01. So well done if you followed along with those questions. And that's it for this video. If you want to check out any other videos related to this topic, then I've left some links to them down in the description, and I'll also put a card in the top corner, so feel free to check them out. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and consider subscribing. If there are any other topics that you'd like me to go through next, then please just let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to make some videos on those topics as soon as possible. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.